Jacob Dawson in 1856 tried very hard to establish a town that he named Wyoming, right on the border of the Missouri River, about 7 miles north of Nebraska City. He was unsuccessful. The plat he drew was amazing. He even had riverfront lots for people to purchase. However, his partners were 4 gentlemen from Nebraska City. They did not want Jacob Dawson to succeed, and that worked. He didn't succeed. He owned a newspaper in Wyoming and published newspapers and wrote a lot in the newspaper about how wonderful Wyoming, Nebraska territory was, but it just never got off the ground. And so after a few years, Jacob Dawson gave up. He had no money, huge dreams, but no money. And he moved actually to Lancaster and lived there. That's where he passed away. It was in Lancaster, which we know now as Lincoln. Between the years 1864 to 1866, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints used the town of Wyoming, Nebraska territory as an outfitting station or a resting area for their travels from Europe, South Africa, and other places outside of the United States to make their trek towards their hoped-for Zion in the Utah Territory. So for those 3 years, what they're commonly known as Mormons, they stayed in Wyoming for anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, preparing to walk west, the 1,100-mile trek west, and they took the Nebraska City Cutoff Trail, not the commonly known Mormon Trail further north. The reason Wyoming was selected was because there was much more area for the oxen to graze and for the people to camp than there was existing up in Florence or near Omaha, Nebraska. During those years, 1864 to 1866, when the church used Wyoming, Nebraska as an outfitting station, they would send people to the location. When the immigration was done, the people who were there would go back to the Utah Territory. The route ceased being used, the Nebraska City Cutoff Trail, after 1866 because the Transcontinental Railroad had been completed all the way to North Platte, Nebraska, which is central Nebraska. So Wyoming, or the Missouri River, was no longer needed. When Wyoming was established, it did go on long enough. The village itself was established. It went on long enough that there were people actually buried in a cemetery. This cemetery is about 1.5 miles outside of the city itself. There's nothing there now except plowed ground. We know where the cemetery is because the current owner of the land took us there. But there's nothing but a plowed ground. So after Wyoming, Nebraska territory became a ghost town, everybody had left. There were still some people living there, but the tombstones that were in the original cemetery were used to create blockages for ditches. They were used for all kinds of different things, some vandalism, but all of the tombstones, for whatever reason, were destroyed except for maybe 5 or 6 little pieces of tombstone, and that's what is now in a little monument in the ground just to remember there was a cemetery there. They did have 2 trees that were planted there that were remembered by one of the inhabitants, citizens of Nebraska City. But those trees are no longer there. Some leftover tombstones, pieces of tombstone that he's put in just so somebody can remember something, that there was somebody there who died.